Imagine waking up as the glowing numbers on your clock bleed into a suffocating darkness. This terrifying fade is your body's desperate cry for support. Discover the vital biological steps to nourish and protect your vision before the edges of your world disappear completely. Imagine waking up in the dead of night. The room is heavy with a suffocating silence, and as you rub your heavy eyelids to look at the glowing numbers on the bedside clock, a cold, undeniable dread washes over your chest. The numbers are not just out of focus. They are bleeding into the darkness, distorted and impossibly distant. In that lonely, vulnerable moment, a terrifying question echoes in your mind. How much longer until the edges of my world disappear completely? We have been conditioned, practically brainwashed, to swallow a devastating biological lie. We are told that the slow, agonizing dimming of our vision is simply the unavoidable tax of accumulating years. We sit in brightly lit, unfeeling clinical rooms, listening to sighs of resignation from professionals who hand us yet another stronger prescription and a tiny plastic bottle of artificial tears. They pat us on the shoulder and tell us that our eyes are just getting old. It is a quiet death sentence for your independence, neatly wrapped in a sympathetic medical smile. But what if I told you that this narrative is fundamentally, catastrophically flawed? Your body is not broken. Your eyes have not surrendered to time. What you are experiencing is not an inevitable descent into blindness, but a desperate, silent scream for survival from a starved biological system. Canada Senior Health Guide 04 warmly welcomes you to a journey of uncovering the truth that the medical establishment often leaves unspoken. If you refuse to accept the fading of your light and want to uncover the hidden mechanics of your own healing, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Your support is the vital heartbeat that allows us to keep bringing these profound, life-changing revelations to you. To truly understand the silent theft of your sight, we must strip away the surface-level symptoms and look at your body through the unforgiving yet miraculous lens of clinical biochemistry. Your body operates on a ruthless, uncompromising system of triage. When your systemic resources plunge, when the raw materials desperately needed for cellular regeneration are stripped bare by the oxidative stress of daily living, your biology is forced to make a heartbreaking choice. It hoards nutrients to protect the life-critical organs, the heart, the lungs, the brain. It abandons the periphery, the intricate, highly demanding capillary networks of your eyes. The very vessels that give you the brilliant color and clarity of the world are shoved to the absolute bottom of the biological priority list. Your fading vision is not a malfunction of age. It is a calculated, desperate adaptation to a chronic internal famine. Today, we leave the white coat at the door. We step entirely away from the superficial, cosmetic band-aids that merely mask your deterioration while the roots of your vision rot in barren soil. You and I are going to embark on a deeply personal, biochemical rebellion. We are going to decode and awaken the profound self-healing mechanisms lying dormant within your retina. We are going to reclaim your visual autonomy, not by surrendering to external crutches, but by flooding your biology with the exact, potent raw materials it is begging for to rebuild your sight from the absolute inside out. To understand exactly which raw materials your eyes are desperately craving, we must first unmask the modern, invisible assault that engineered this microscopic famine in the first place. For decades, we have been living in a deeply toxic environment that is fundamentally incompatible with the fragile architecture of human vision. We are surrounded by a food supply stripped of its vital essence, replaced by hyper-processed synthetic fillers, hidden sugars, and industrialized seed oils that course through our veins like microscopic shards of glass. Every time we consume these modern conveniences, an invisible, raging fire of systemic inflammation is ignited deep within our vascular system. Now, consider the blood vessels in your eyes. They are not like the robust, thick arteries pumping blood to your heart or your legs. The capillaries feeding your macula and optic nerve are incredibly delicate, narrower than a single strand of human hair. When your blood becomes thick, sluggish, and loaded with inflammatory byproducts, These microscopic highways are the very first to become damaged, inflamed, and ultimately barricaded. It is a terrifying, silent strangulation. Your heart continues to beat, your lungs continue to draw breath, but the tiny vessels meant to deliver oxygen and critical antioxidants to your eyes are suffocated. The metabolic waste produced by your retinas, which work tirelessly every second your eyes are open, has nowhere to go. It begins to pool, creating a highly toxic, acidic environment right at the center of your visual field. This is the heavy, agonizing blur you experience when you try to read a book or recognize a face across the room. It is not an arbitrary curse of getting older, but a physical barrier of toxic sludge blocking the light. The medical industry's answer is to simply give you a thicker piece of glass to look through, completely ignoring the smoldering fire, destroying the house from the inside out. They treat the eye as if it is an isolated camera floating in space, entirely disconnected from the biological chaos ravaging the rest of your body. This profound disconnect is why your prescription keeps changing and your vision keeps fading despite their so-called treatments. You are being asked to fight a raging internal fire with a squirt gun of artificial tears. We have to stop blaming the passage of time and start recognizing the systemic betrayal of our modern lifestyle. Because only by acknowledging the true nature of this invisible assault can we begin the genuine work of reversing the damage. Yet, even in the midst of this suffocating darkness, your eyes possess an astonishing, built-in resurrection mechanism just waiting for the right key to unlock it. Deep within the macula, the highly sensitive center of your retina, responsible for your sharpest, most detailed vision, lies a profound biological secret that mainstream ophthalmology rarely bothers to explain. Your eyes are home to the highest concentration of mitochondria in your entire body. These are the microscopic power plants that generate the immense energy required to convert light into the electrical signals that your brain interprets as sight. Because they work with such furious intensity, they produce a massive amount of oxidative exhaust. In a healthy, fully nourished body, this exhaust is immediately neutralized by a dense, golden armor called the macular pigment. But here is the heartbreaking reality. Years of systemic starvation and constant exposure to the harsh, piercing blue light of modern screens have entirely depleted this protective shield. Your macular pigment has been worn down to nothing, leaving your visual power plants completely exposed to the violent, rusting effects of free radical damage. As these mitochondria become damaged and begin to misfire, they trigger a biological failsafe. To prevent total cellular death, the cells enter a state of dormancy. They do not die. They simply go to sleep to survive the famine. This is the crucial, monumental truth that changes everything. The fading of your vision is largely the result of millions of retinal cells going offline, retreating into a protective hibernation because they lack the raw materials to function safely. The blurriness, the dark spots, the agonizing loss of contrast, it is not necessarily permanent cell death. It is biological preservation. If you can cross the blood-retinal barrier and replenish that golden macular armor, you can signal to these dormant cells that the famine is finally over. You can literally flip the switch back to the on position. The human body is remarkably forgiving and deeply biased toward healing, provided you stop actively poisoning it and start providing the precise, heavy-duty biochemicals it requires to rebuild. We are talking about highly specific, incredibly potent organic compounds that nature designed perfectly to cross into the ocular tissue, sweep away the toxic debris, and rebuild the cellular engines of your sight. This is not about trying to freeze your vision in its current, degraded state. It is about aggressively rewinding the biological clock of your retinas, clearing the suffocating waste, and reigniting the magnificent, luminous power of your mitochondria so you can finally see the world with the crisp, undeniable clarity you deserve. Turning that biological key and flooding your visual engines with life-giving power requires a radical departure from the passive treatments you have been handed. You cannot rebuild a crumbling foundation with cheap, synthetic materials. And you certainly cannot restore the brilliant clarity of your vision with the poorly absorbed, mass-produced multivitamins lining the shelves of your local pharmacy. Reclaiming your sight demands the architecture of visual rebirth, a highly intentional, meticulously sourced protocol of raw organic power. We must approach your body with the profound respect it deserves, utilizing compounds that are bioidentical to the very tissues we are trying to resurrect. This means bypassing the synthetic isolates entirely and seeking out the rare, deeply pigmented phytonutrients found in nature's most resilient plants. Plants that have evolved over millennia to survive extreme ultraviolet radiation. When you introduce these pure, unadulterated elements into your bloodstream, something miraculous happens. Your body, starved for so long, recognizes these compounds instantly. It eagerly shuttles them past the blood-retinal barrier, directing them straight into the dense macular tissue where the damage is most severe. This is where the heavy lifting begins. The exact compounds we introduce act as microscopic scavengers, aggressively hunting down and neutralizing the free radicals that have been terrorizing your fragile eye tissue. They begin to dissolve the hardened lipofuscin, the toxic, fatty sludge that has been physically blocking your cellular pathways. But we do not stop at merely cleaning up the damage. True visual rebirth requires structural fortification. We must repair the very microvascular highways that were crushed under the weight of inflammation. By introducing specific, naturally occurring vasodilators and anti-inflammatory botanicals, we relax and widen those tiny capillaries. We get the blood flowing again. We restore the steady, rhythmic pulse of oxygen and life to the back of the eye. Imagine a parched, cracked desert finally receiving a torrential, life-giving rain. That is what your retinas experience when you finally surrender the synthetic band-aids and embrace real, biological nourishment. The dormant cells awaken, stretching and reaching out to re-establish the critical neural pathways to your brain. Your eyes begin to literally rebuild their own internal defenses, stacking layer upon layer of protective pigment until your macula is once again an impenetrable, golden fortress against the modern world. When you finally supply your body with this uncompromising architectural support, the terrifying narrative of inevitable decline shatters into 1,000 pieces. There will come a morning, not so far from today, when you will wake up in that very same bedroom. But this time, the heavy, suffocating dread will be gone. As you open your eyes and look toward the bedside clock, the glowing numbers will not be a bleeding, distorted mess. They will be sharp. They will be crisp. They will be undeniable proof that your body has not betrayed you. You will walk outside, and instead of a washed-out, blurry landscape, you will see the individual leaves on the trees, painted in vibrant, breathtaking greens. You will sit across from your loved ones and actually see the spark of joy in their eyes, the subtle lines of their smiles, without constantly straining or apologizing for your failing sight. This is the beautiful, emotional weight of reclaiming your independence. It is about taking back the steering wheel of your life, confident in your ability to navigate the world without living in the constant, paralyzing fear of impending darkness. For too long, the medical establishment has demanded your passive resignation. They have asked you to mourn the loss of your vision while you are still alive, to slowly retreat into the shadows and accept a life half-lived. But you are not a passive observer in your own biological story. You possess the agency to rewrite the ending. By rejecting the devastating lie of inevitable aging and choosing to boldly nourish the profound healing mechanisms within you, you are stepping out of the shadows and back into the light. You are reclaiming the brilliant, vivid colors of your life. The journey from silent biological starvation to vibrant cellular rebirth is not a miracle. It is simply the natural result of giving your incredible, self-healing body exactly what it needs to thrive. It is time to stop waiting for the darkness to take hold. It is time to fuel your rebellion, rebuild your visual fortress, and look toward your future with absolute, unshakable clarity. The progressive fading of our vision is not an inevitable life sentence dictated by age, but rather a direct consequence of systemic starvation and modern environmental toxicity. For decades, highly processed diets and relentless screen time have quietly choked the delicate microvascular highways of our eyes, burying our retinas under a suffocating layer of inflammatory waste and oxidative stress. Traditional medicine often treats this profound biological crisis with passive, band-aid solutions like stronger prescription lenses, completely ignoring the smoldering fire of inflammation within. However, the true revelation lies in the remarkable resilience of human biology. Our retinal cells do not immediately die when starved. They simply go dormant to survive the famine. By rejecting synthetic treatments and consciously flooding our bodies with highly targeted, rare organic phytonutrients, we can actively reverse this microscopic starvation. These powerful, bioidentical natural compounds cross the blood-retinal barrier to clear toxic sludge, repair crushed capillaries, and rebuild the golden macular armor that protects our visual mitochondria. Reclaiming your sight is entirely possible when you stop treating your eyes as isolated mechanisms and start treating them as deeply connected extensions of a self-healing biological system. Ultimately, restoring your vision is about taking back your personal autonomy. It is a bold rejection of passive decline, empowering you to step out of the shadows, reignite your cellular engines, and experience the world once again with the vibrant, undeniable clarity you truly deserve. Your body is fundamentally wired for healing, not decline. The physical deterioration we so often dismiss as normal aging is frequently just a desperate cry for raw, biological nourishment. When we view symptoms like fading vision as isolated, irreversible problems, we surrender our power. The profound truth is that genuine healing requires addressing the root cause, systemic toxicity and cellular starvation, rather than just masking the external symptoms. You are not a passive victim of time. You are the active architect of your own biology. Start by fiercely auditing what you allow into your body. Eliminate the hyper-processed synthetic fillers, hidden sugars, and inflammatory seed oils that silently clog your microvascular highways. Instead, intentionally seek out deeply pigmented, nutrient-dense whole foods rich in natural antioxidants to rebuild your internal cellular defenses. Protect your eyes from the relentless assault of artificial blue light by taking intentional screen breaks and prioritizing natural, healing sunlight. Most importantly, shift your mindset from passive acceptance of bodily decline to aggressive, proactive nourishment. Treat your overall health as an interconnected ecosystem and consistently give your body the pure, unadulterated raw materials it desperately needs to repair, regenerate, and thrive. What is one small change you can make to your daily diet or routine today to start actively protecting your vision? Please share your thoughts and ideas in the comments section below so we can all learn and draw inspiration from each other's perspectives. If you found this information valuable and empowering, please subscribe to the channel to support our work. It gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more deep, life-changing content.